Hey you guys, Barbi Hayden here. On behalf of Title Match Wrestling Network and Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, I have Veda Scott with me. Welcome, Veda. We actually don't have a name for this show so far, so they kind of threw me to the wolves.
But maybe we'll like come up with something, and then they can splice that in. Like maybe you'll say say something that's really catchy, and they can just sort of like plug that in later.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll like off the cuff, like, or you'll say by accident.
Yeah, we'll get rid of this, and we'll put in when you say what the title of the show is going to be.
Something really cool.
Which we're going to come up with definitely during the show.
And then it's like a weird like freeze frame of you just being like, here's the title of this show. And then it like cuts into us talking.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Perfect.
It won't be weird.
We'll come up with something maybe.
Yeah. So to touch base again, this is our very first show. This is it's kind of exciting. You're the first one to jump into this with me. I know. It's a little bit scary, but I don't know, I feel comfortable with you because you and I have actually wrestled all over the place, like not necessarily with each other.
We're on a lot of shows together.
Yes, exactly.
I think we've only had one match against each other, well, minus tonight, where we're also going to be fighting.
Yeah,
because I hate you.
That's so.
There's a lot of animosity here, but we're on a lot of shows together.
Yeah.
So we've known each other for probably like 5 years. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of weird how that time like? It's weird because it's like, where does this time go? I think that's like the weirdest part, because how long have you been wrestling for?
6 years.
6 years?
Say. Yeah.
Okay, and does that like include like your training in that?
No, I trained for a year before I wrestled.
Okay.
So I had like a year of training, and like doing ring crew and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I had my first match, and then I just transitioned to because I was training with Ring of Honor at the time. I was on a Ring of Honor weekend. I would travel with them and do the crew and everything. And then when we didn't have shows, I would get my own bookings.
Oh,
so it's been like 6 years or so of me wrestling, and then that first year was just training and
got you. Okay,
helping out.
I would say I'm kind of that same way when people ask me like, oh, how long have you been wrestling? And it's always a weird way to answer, because you're like, well, I've been like in the business and training and around it for, however many years. But then you're like, but been on the road and actually working, for a set amount. And I know that's kind of like, in a way, like an old school mentality where people are like, oh, but how many matches have you had? Or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I had an injury here and here, so technically, you got to take like a month or two. So it's good that you have like that kind of, that wiggle room. To touch base on the training, so tell me a little bit about that. Like, I want to know, because I obviously did not train with Ring of Honor, so I just want to kind of know, what was that like, because they are on such a pedestal. They're such a high-ranked and highly respected company. So how was that, first off, also being a female? Because I know I came in about that same time as you did. So at the time, women's wrestling was a little bit different. We weren't necessarily just, oh, there's a girl here. Right. Probably in your case, too, there may not have been a lot of girls training with you. So how was that experience?
I feel like I keep like moving my arms around.
It's a big chair,
Sorry, it's a very big chair.
Yeah, so
it's kind of luxuriating in it.
Exactly, just kick sideways.
It was exactly that. So for me, I started training there because I was living in Philadelphia, and I was going to law school in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So I was semi-limited with my options for training, because I wanted to start training while I was still in law school.
Yeah.
And not wait till I finished school to start training. So I kind of was limited in like the general vicinity of where I had to pick a school, because when people always ask me, how do you choose a wrestling school? I say it's a lot like picking a college. Like you might relocate. You might
exactly.
You have to look at situationally, like if something is the best for you, you might move there or whatever.
Right. If it's like financial, or if it's like location or whatever.
It doesn't necessarily just have to be like, oh, well, there's a school in my neighborhood, I'm gonna train with like Joey Random. And
exactly.
But for me, so I was fortunate because in Philadelphia there's a lot of really great wrestling schools.
Yeah.
And where I ended up going was with Ring of Honor. But like you're saying, at the time they were sort of in between their women's wrestling right there. They weren't really if I'm remembering right, there wasn't really any happening on their program at that time.
Right.
There had been, and then there would be again.
Yeah.
But at the time, they didn't really have a women's.
It was kind of like a gray area,
right? And they didn't really do women's matches at all. Like maybe here and there, but there wasn't like a women's division like they have there now.
Right.
So for me, it was more
to clarify, it's definitely back for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like for me, it was okay. I really want to train. I wanted to train with Daisy Hayes, and who was there.
Yes.
But I didn't envision that I would ever work for that particular company in any capacity, really, because I didn't see the opportunity there. It was just more like, okay, this is a school that is reputable,
right?
And I think that I'll be trained well, and then I'll just kind of like ply my craft elsewhere. And that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
I was really fortunate too, though, with training with them, that I got to do ring crew with them and travel with them, which was great for networking, because I was then traveling around the country, doing crew. But as I'm doing that, I'm also meeting people everywhere, so that when I started to wrestle, I kind of already knew people different places, or I kind of knew what was around.
You kind of like planted a seed all over the country.
I've been a huge wrestling fan my whole life anyway, so I was pretty plugged into indie wrestling in general, but at least then I knew when we were in so-and-so city, I met this person, and that made it a little easier for me to start to network for myself. But I trained there because I knew that it would be good training, but I didn't anticipate ever working there, because it just wasn't
happening at the time.
In terms of wrestling, or even just in terms of like anything, like it wasn't it just wasn't didn't seem like it was in the cards.
Okay, that's interesting, because I know what you mean in terms of like the kind of traveling around and doing what you can and meeting who you can, because you really do, you try to network and just meet whoever. Was there any particular like area or promotion or anything that really like stood out to you, or that you really wanted to work at, or maybe even had a bad experience with?
Right. So like early on, I tried to just pretty much take whatever matches I could get at that point. Like I was just like, I'll just go and I'll travel wherever. So I was in Ohio a whole lot early on, and stayed going back and forth to Ohio at least once or twice a month for the first like year or two, maybe even 3 that I was wrestling.
And what promotions are in that? Because I'm not too familiar with Ohio.
So I wrestled a lot with AIW early on.
Okay,
and they're still out there, still doing things. So I would make the trip out to Cleveland pretty often, and just also trying to like meet people and being like, you go out to wherever you go to Detroit every month. Like, do you guys have room in the car? Like, because I could maybe see if I could get on that. And sometimes it's harder. So I do a lot of intergender as well.
Okay,
and I think it's become more of a thing now.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
like it's hard. You can't just like necessarily hop in the car and be like, oh, I hope there's a match for me, because if there's not another woman and they're not going to do intergender, there might not be. But at least like I could get out there and kind of like show face and help out. So
show like good faith like to these companies and just kind of say like, listen, I'm here, I'm ready to work.
So
when there is a spot,
being around Ring of Honor helped me travel a lot and kind of just start to like get out there and meet people, and it got me used to just sort of like being on the road.
Okay, so Ring of Honor, obviously that's clearly like a really great promotion to work for. You've been with them since the beginning, but is there any promotion that you have kind of just like, you're like, man, that's where I want to go, or that's where I want to travel, or like a country even, or it's not a specific show?
Well, when I left Ring of Honor, when is it, like a year and a half ago or so, it was because I wanted to just travel more. And
were you on like an exclusive thing? So I know that they do contracting and things like that.
What ended up happening was it came to a time where it was time for me to like renew, and I wanted to kind of not necessarily be obligated to commit to like particular dates, but that was really all it was. Because by then they had their women's division going, so there was a lot more. There was women's wrestling happening, at least one match every show, which is pretty much continued now. There's at least like a women's match per show, sometimes more. But I wanted to travel a lot more. And I wanted to be able to travel and like go a place and stay for a while and train, and then go another place, stay for a while and train, and like do a couple months in Japan. At the time they didn't have like as much of a connection with Stardom, which they have now, which is awesome.
But it's like it's a smooth train of moving
so for me it was more just like I just need a little more flexibility. But on the other hand, the fact that the option is there for so many people now to have security in wrestling and not necessarily be working for WWE, but can be somewhere else, but there's still like security and contracts and deals and like you pay your rent, like that's insane. That's great. So for me, it just got to a point where like I personally wanted a little more freedom and flexibility, but I'm not saying that I wasn't being afforded that. It was just like my personal choice.
No, I get that. I totally get that.
Like get out there a little bit more.
And
try it on my own.
And kind of like, so touching on what you were saying before with like, with WWE, with let's go ahead and say Impact, for the sake of it. Of course, I think for a lot of people, they hold Ring of Honor pretty much to that level or that standard, in this day and age. But in the beginning, though, because you were saying before that you didn't think that you would have anything going on with Ring of Honor past the training. Was there any desire to go to WWE? Did you want to move your career that way, or was that the reason why you even started? Because I don't know what wrestling you watched, growing up.
I'm a huge wrestling fan. I've watched pretty much everything always.
If it's on, you're just like...
Right, and I'm still the same way. I'm still just constantly watching wrestling and thinking about wrestling and talking about wrestling. Mm-hmm. So for me, I guess it wasn't necessarily the goal or the path that I was going, set out to go. It was one of those oh, that'd be neat. Yeah. But I'm more, for me, just personally started to wrestle because I wanted to just do it at all.
Okay.
And that was that seems bare, it was bare bones, hey, I just want to do this and see what happens.
Yeah, you're just I want to be in the ring.
Yeah, and then when it started to go okay, then I was okay, I want to maybe travel a little bit more, or I want to. My goal was to eventually be able to support myself on wrestling, which I can do.
And I was going to ask. Right. I mean, are you doing that now?
Yes.
I feel that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and so to be able to, it wasn't not necessarily even I'm not even talking necessarily about the financial supporting yourself. I'm talking about maintain a career that I get to dictate for myself.
Yes, and not the typical 9 to 5.
That's just my personality, I think. For me, and my motivation for getting into wrestling is I enjoy the kind of being my own agent, securing, deciding oh, I'd like to go
hustle?
To X for a while. I wonder if I could hook that up and make that work.
Okay,
that's exciting for me.
Yeah. Kind of the challenge of it and just seeing if you can accomplish it. And
maybe if I was at a different place in my life, I feel differently, and I'd want something a little more
stable.
Stable.
Yeah. I guess it's the term for that. I don't know.
Yeah, stable or
it depends on how you look at it.
Down in Florida or whatever, but for me, this is what I enjoy. I enjoy that aspect of things.
Okay.
And if I didn't, then I would probably be trying to move in a different direction, or I would have moved in a different direction. But for me, that's the bit of wrestling. I really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah. No, and I get that too, because I've never really been. I know that you were signed with Ring of Honor and everything, but in my case, I've actually never signed with anyone until this year. I haven't had a contract or anything, and I will say that I think it is kind of fun to free agent yourself and just be who's out here that I can touch base with, or whatever. It keeps it exciting, and it helps you connect with fans that you wouldn't have if say you were on this contract or what have you. We touched on this earlier. I'm not even sure if, to tell you the truth, I'm not even sure if we did it on camera or if we talked about this beforehand, because we were kind of...
It is wicked hot in here, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's very warm. So if you see us adjusting our thick, long hair, you know why.
I have a quarter of a water bottle left. Oh no.
Yeah, we're definitely in Texas, so we might be sharing my cup of water here in just a minute. In fact, speaking of that, we are in Booker T's arena here.
We are.
Over at the World Gym Arena, and it is in Texas City. This is your first time, actually.
It is.
Not to ADD on the conversation.
Right.
We can go back to that.
We can go back to that. But we can splice it together. Right now they're gonna just cut to the name of the show. Right now.
Exactly. They're gonna cut over this part and be they don't need water.
It's the name of the show.
They're fine.
No, I've wrestled in Texas an awful lot. I've wrestled in Austin, San Antonio. I'm pretty sure I've wrestled in Dallas. Mm-hmm. I've been to Houston before. The city. I've not wrestled in Houston, and then Texas City is kind of right outside of Houston. Yeah. I flew into Houston today.
Yes.
It didn't take super long to get here.
Yeah, it's which is actually shocking, because the traffic here, if you've never been to Houston or if you don't live here, it's atrocious. On my way in, for instance, it added an extra hour.
Oh no.
Just because of traffic, and I was yay, it's exactly what I want to happen today. But yeah, no, it's right by the coast, and it's Texas City is actually closer to the coast. So it's that's why it's so humid and sweltering.
I gotcha.
Yeah, that's why you feel like you want to die.
A little bit.
Yeah, in your own skin.
My head right now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I stole her ponytail holder, so now she's doomed.
There's someone here though who is doing our makeup, so help me with this, and she's gonna help me fix this hair. So the humidity, this is a work in progress you're seeing right now.
It is, yeah. She was just I'm coming in, rocking a t-shirt, hair's not done. She was but we're gonna knock this out. First interview, deep in it.
But this facility is awesome. I mean, I've seen footage from here before from other shows. Because Title Match puts matches out here and there, and I've seen footage from here. Yeah. And it's like basically a television studio. Like, it looks super professional. Mm-hmm. But there's also like the gym, the training facility. There's this interview area. There's like multiple rings. It's basically like a performance center type of setup, right?
Well, I mean, so to touch on that, because with this being your first time, this is my third time here, and I had that same mentality coming into this, because I was like, I've been over to the PC, for WWE.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
And that's exactly, and then it clicked. I was like,
right,
Booker T, WWE.
Yeah, it's like a very like performance. There's a gym.
It is.
There's all these different areas.
Yeah.
But then the actual, I should say the arena part, like where the main show ring and the entrance and everything is, it looks like a TV studio.
It is, yeah. It's really nice. And I will say, touching on this, if you haven't been to this arena, you definitely should. And one thing I like about it is not to say that we don't want to see fans. That's not the point. But I do love when the audience is darker lit. Because I feel like people are able to just kind of like express themselves and have fun and not feel like there's a bright light. And not be self-conscious, yeah. Yes, exactly. Because that's how I felt. Like when I was a fan sitting in the audience, like as soon as those lights dimmed, it's kind of like being in a movie. Yeah. Those lights dim, you fully submerge.
Yeah.
So I think that is what's really cool about this.
So I'm super pumped to wrestle here. But yeah, the facility is awesome.
I'm glad that it's with me though. Yeah. The first one, I think that's like, we got a little like, well, yeah, I guess it is the first. It's your first time here. So
yeah, it is.
It's a lot of firsts today. First time using my brain. It's cool. Whatever. But yeah, I actually wanted to touch on the
I'm attempting to lean back here, but I'm like out of the frame now. Here we
go. You're good. Like cool you off. I know. No, you're totally fine.
This chair is massive. It's like
It is. It's like a little spaceship. It's
so
fine.
I'm sorry.
We
were talking about something, and I started talking about something else.
No, you're good. So it was actually the law school that you were attending while you were training. So first off, that's wild to me because I had a very similar beginning to my wrestling career.
Right.
I was actually going into the field of physical therapy. Started college while I was in high school, like just to do that, and then wrestling ended up taking over. Yeah. So let me know a little bit about that, because I know you were like, I don't really want that 9 to 5. I don't want that,
Right. So I went to college. Like I finished university, and then
where'd you attend, if you don't mind me asking?
I went to school in New York. So I was in New York City for college, and then I moved to Philly for law school. Or I moved to Philly, and then I went to law school, and I decided while I was already in school that I wanted to train. Again, I was a huge wrestling fan anyway, and I was like, I really need to do this. Like I'm not gonna feel like fulfilled unless I try this. Right. But again, my goal was like, I want to have like a match and then see what happens from there.
Okay.
And that was pretty much where it was at. Like
you're like, I'm going to train for a whole year.
Yeah,
and
I just want to like,
match.
Yeah, and like I was enjoying training. I was enjoying traveling, and I was like, I just want to see if I can do this, like get through this. I want to see if I can get through this.
Okay, that's fair.
And then I was also in school at the time, but my thing was I told myself, like, you have to finish school too. Like, this is that would be ridiculous. Like, do not.
I'm glad you had that mentality.
Yeah, like, do not quit law school.
Sorry, Mom, I didn't.
Well, I can't, like, I'm like, do not, I had done all this other stuff in my life to keep me from starting professional wrestling. Like, I had kept, like, when I was in university, like when I was in my undergrad, I wanted to transition right into a PhD program. Okay. So when I started to kind of look at the application program for that, I was like, I need to have like a little bit of time. I need to have like a little bit of a life. But partly I was just kind of like trying to find things to do to like keep myself from pursuing wrestling. Because I was like, that's not going to be, that's just like, don't do that. Like, just be a fan. It's fine. Yeah. Like, you don't have to just enjoy. Go and do everything that you like. So I
like milkshakes. I'm not going to become a milkshake.
That's true. That's true.
If we're talking about things we really like that we probably shouldn't do.
Like, so I told myself, like, you have to finish law school, which I did. And I had a great experience there and a great time.
Yeah.
But also I was training and then traveling and then wrestling at the same time.
Which is brutal.
So it was a lot. I don't recommend doing that. Like, I recommend stay in school, but maybe like
do that first, kids.
Yeah, like maybe like think about this a little bit. Like don't at the same time.
Yeah, so we're thinking
choose one, and honestly maybe choose school.
Right? Yeah, seriously.
Maybe the one to stick with.
Well, okay, and the thing this is kind of where I'm at with it, and I still feel this mentality. I'm 27 now, not sure, you're probably about the same age, roughly. And kind of the way I look at it is, with wrestling, and I feel like a lot of people realize this, is that there is a little bit of a time constraint.
Right.
With any professional sport or any type of athlete or a performer, a lot of times there is this like window where it's kind of like your cushion
like physically
window.
You can't do this forever.
Exactly. And so that's something that I've always kind of taken into account. So I'm kind of like, hey, do that schooling, first. I wish I had gone ahead and finished. But go ahead and do that schooling first. And then if you want to dive into the wrestling, do the wrestling while you can.
Right.
Because I feel like once you have that degree, or once you have, whatever it is, whatever your certificate's in, or whatever it is, you can use that later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because like those types of professions and those types of fields, there's not necessarily like that much of a time stamp on it necessarily, not in the way that being like a performer is or an athlete is.
Right.
And so I do feel like, okay, if people do choose, like if they're like, no, I want to do the wrestling first, I want to start when I'm 18, boom, right off the gate. It's like, okay, well, just do keep in mind that at a certain point, that does kind of probably have an end.
Right.
Like some people, of course, kind of delve into other things, but, like interviewing and things like that. But
yeah, like I wonder,
physically.
I often wonder, like, yeah, where would I be if I had started doing this when I was like 17? Or I wrestle, I wrestle over in England quite a lot now, and Japan, and like some of the people there are like 14 when they get started,
which is
like,
crazy.
Where would I be? And it's like, well, probably not still wrestling. Like probably I would be done with this and on to something else.
Right.
So my mentality right now is just like go as hard as I can for as long as I can, and then when I can't anymore, then figure it out. Like
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I know there's probably a lot of people who are going to watch this and they're going to say like, you need that backup plan. Like you need to know what's next. But I feel like in your case, you know what you're capable of. You have already done, you've already gotten what you said it was a PhD. Is that?
So I was gonna. That was what I wanted to do when I finished school, and I decided like, whoa, slow it down, and I decided to go to law school instead, which was like a slightly shorter commitment. But
oddly, which sounds crazy.
Right, but I don't know. Once I started wrestling, I started to over time transition from like, oh, I can't really work anymore because I'm wrestling all the time. And then when things picked up and I started to figure out that like, so I started to really pursue international stuff, or started to pursue things where I wouldn't be able to like show up at the office on whatever day. Yeah. Then I was like, okay, you need to decide. You need to like, if you're gonna flip this switch now and go like all in on wrestling, then go all in on wrestling for like a couple years while you can. And then when that's not physically feasible or like mentally feasible, because
you're just
like
done with
wrestling
it.
Sucks. Like it's the best, but like for like your just mental health,
it's
a lot. It's a lot.
It is tough.
So like so it's when
especially when fur babies like us that you're
like
behind.
Physically and mentally and just like in general, like when my life situation doesn't support doing this full time and like as hard as I do anymore, then then I'll figure out what's next.
Now you used a term just now that I've obviously kind of caught my attention, was all in. That is something huge that is happening right now in the world of wrestling. Can you touch base on that? I don't know if you're going to be at Starcast or you're going to All In.
Yeah, I'm doing the Starcast, the convention thing, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I want to hear all about it, like what your plans are and everything.
I don't really know.
Okay,
I
just show up.
I just know that I'm there for like 3 days. Doing some signings, meeting some people.
Right. Are you going to represent anybody?
No, it's just me. Yeah.
Okay, because I know that some people are doing that where they're going and they're like representing a company or a brand.
I'm not like affiliated with any one particular company right now.
That makes sense.
So I'm kind of just there hanging out. I like conventions. I like the opportunity to just sort of like meet everybody.
Yes.
And just chill for a weekend. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I like the Chicago area too. So I'll just be there. I'll be there for the weekend. Just
that's cool.
Seeing what happens. Hanging out. So
that's
fun.
I would say like anybody that's been to a convention, especially, and this is the one that comes to mind, is like, we have WrestleCade. We have,
which I have to miss this year. I love WrestleCade and I have to miss it. Yeah, I'm going to be in England, but I have to miss it. I love WrestleCade's a good one.
Yes, that's a good one. I love WrestleCade. I'm actually going to be at this one finally. I haven't been in years. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too like fat from Thanksgiving or something, or like holidays stuff or whatever. Because I feel like these conventions always like run right around the holiday, and then like with things like coinciding with like WrestleMania and things like that. It's always like in these like winter months, and I'm just like,
WrestleCade's a fun one though. Yeah, yes, I'm bummed I have to miss that one.
Yeah, I think they're really cool. So I feel like this one is a really well timed one because it's like really before things kick off for school for everybody. It's like right at the end of summer. It's just, to me, I think it's like an ideal time. I think too that really helped elevate it, you know, because like the timing's really nice. There's not a lot going on in the fall usually.
Right, and people are really excited about it, so that's neat. But yeah, I'll just be hanging out.
That's
for
cool.
A little while.
Yeah, and are you gonna be like at a booth with someone? Because I know that like sometimes people share booths and stuff. Or are you just like
no,
whole thing?
No, it's just me. It's just me.
It's awesome.
I have a couple of vendors that I work with sometimes. I'm not for this particular event, but that's always fun too. Like just kind of, it's a good way to meet people.
Just being your own entity,
right?
Which is like pretty cool sometimes.
I'm just gonna see what happens.
Kind of like at the beginning of your wrestling career, you're like, I'm just gonna see what happens.
Like I don't know. I have very, very loose goals for things, I guess.
But I like it.
Like
then you don't like set this like crazy standard.
Right, like it's just
you know what I mean.
As long as
you said it here.
If I'm not having fun, I'm not gonna do it. Like
that's fair.
At this point in my not even just in wrestling, like in my life, like I said, like there's so much wrestling that sucks, and there's so much of just life in general that sucks, and like I'm not.
So just enjoy it, ride the wave.
Like I get to do this thing that I've been like my dream since I was a child, and it's the only thing I've ever really connected with and really loved, and I get to travel and do it with my friends and do it with my partner, and like so really as anything
you're winning.
Anything is fine with me. Like I'm not like if I'm not on Raw tomorrow, then I quit. Like that's not. I can't do that. Because
no, I know
what
you mean.
There's just so much good. Like but at the same time, like if it's not fun, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so pretty much wherever you
We're
see me,
grizzled vets at this point. So
wherever you see me, I'm probably enjoying myself, or else I wouldn't be there.
Well, that's good. Okay, so anybody that's coming out to see Veda, no matter where she is, she's
I'm having
a good
fun.
Time.
Yeah,
like outside venues. Like you just wrestled Chelsea Green. You said what was it like last week or the week before?
Yeah, it was last week. It was for First Wrestling. It was at a brewery, the Bajas Brewery out in Milwaukee. I love wrestling. I said Milwaukee. It's Minneapolis. As I'm thinking Milwaukee, I'm thinking brewery. Minneapolis.
That's fine.
I love going out there, and I love Minneapolis. But yeah, it was just like a fun outdoor, like crazy outdoor show. That was a blast.
Did it feel like this?
It was really hot. It was really hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm a big fan of wrestling can be anything that you want it to be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, say, in a wrestling ring or anything, like just like trying different ways of doing wrestling. Promotion I've been fortunate enough to work with, and also one of my favorite wrestling promotions in the world is DDT in Japan. And like one of the things that they're very known for is wrestling is not always in a wrestling. Like a lot of the wrestling is in a ring. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, but they also do like wrestling at a campsite, wrestling at a shopping mall. You know, like
I've seen the shopping malls one.
Wrestling on a train. Like that wrestling doesn't.
Wait, did you say on a
moving train? Yes.
Did you do that?
I did not, but no, it did happen. Like there's just,
okay, this is news to me.
You're gonna like wrestling on a baseball field, like wrestling at like an arts and crafts festival happened recently. Nice. Like just it doesn't.
That's cool,
right? Like what we do in terms of like athletic performance art. You know, a wrestling ring is our stage is neat. Yeah. And that's fun, and we all know how to do that. But sometimes you can push it a little bit, and you can do other things. So
you can literally take that ring anywhere.
Right. Like you don't need a ring to wrestle. My partner, my boyfriend, Speedball, I'm wearing a shirt. He just spent the weekend in Singapore wrestling for Grapple Max, which is an awesome up and coming promotion they have there. But
and what's it called again?
It's called Grapple Max.
Grapple Max. Okay.
But most of their shows and most of their wrestling doesn't even happen in a ring. It's on mats. And the fans are around, and like the fans interact, and sometimes like the fans are part of the show, and they're doing like flips off of like bits of the building and gym equipment.
That's crazy.
And it's just as long as like, and I think that's sometimes more fun. Yeah, you just have to be more creative.
It's like more interactive, and it's almost like you're taking wrestling to an even more like an extreme sport type feel, right? Rather than like, okay, this is our sanctioned match in this ring.
There's just so much
now we're
you
making
can
it
do.
This crazy circus.
Yeah,
basically.
So like I don't know, I'm very big on like wrestling is kind of whatever. It's whatever we want it to be, and like it's whatever our audience wants to see. And as long as like, I mean, I see all the time like people are like, oh, that spot was terrible. It was so fake, and like, you know, like too many Canadian destroyers. But like, and I get that. I get why people would feel that way. However, when I'm at a show and I hear the crowd, the audience, which is the important part, the audience is like going nuts for something that's happened in front of them, like some incredible thing they've seen, whether it's like an incredible like flippy thing or like a really funny like comedy that they've seen, then that's all that matters. Like you can't from
Like, they literally paid a ticket to be
entertained. You can't
entertained.
just from, like, watching a GIF say, like, ugh. That was terrible.
Oh, I saw this 3 seconds of this match.
Right, but you weren't there, and like you don't know how much the crowd loved it. And then we're doing live performance for an audience, and if the audience is loving it, then like it's
hard to argue that.
Yeah, so it's like there's no one right or wrong. Well, I mean there's some wrong ways to do wrestling, but like in general, it's kind of just like it's so situational, and it's so like what the environment you're in.
Yeah, because you really do. You vibe off of what's happening around you, your surroundings, and I think it's really cool. I think that's really cool that promotion is working for, kind of how they're taking it to a whole other level. And also, like you said, a lot of it was on mats, so that kind of takes it back to the original form of wrestling.
Exactly.
Which is ironic that,
Right, but like just the idea that like you can, we think of like a ring and the turnbuckles as like the traditional venue for professional wrestling, and it is, and like that's what we do the most of.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Well, I mean, and there have been several cases, and actually in my case, we would have several training weeks, and you all probably might have done something similar to this too, where they would actually take the ropes off, and then they would say, okay, give us a match. They're like, what if you're in the ring and the ropes break?
Right, and you just like figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. And so like they kind of like throw us to the wolves in practice, because they were like, this can happen in like real life.
Yeah.
But in the ring it can happen. And I've seen it happen. I've actually been at shows where the ropes have broken or something has happened to where people actually had to move it outside of the ring or whatever it is.
Right, and you have to just change what you're doing and adapt to the situation, but also adapt to like what the audience wants to see. Because again, this is we're not, we're all fans. Like all of us wrestlers, we're fans too. But
why we became wrestlers.
But in the end, you are like performing. We're wrestling for an audience, and the audience. That's the important part. So if they're enjoying it, then like that to me is the important part.
No, that makes sense. And that kind of actually touches base too with you saying that, not to say that, she's against WWE, that's not my point, but that's not necessarily your make or break, your pinnacle. Is that correct in saying that?
It's not, only because like I'm doing so much else that I enjoy.
Right.
But if that was my goal, then I think I don't.
But you can really have this like freedom, kind of like you were saying. Like it's so nice when you can just like feel the crowd and go off of that vibe.
Right. And I also see like there's so many people now who like because there's so many opportunities out there now for people.
Wrestling has
so many people that like their goal was to get to WWE or get to wherever. Right. And it's happening. Like, and before it was like, oh, it might happen for 3 of you. And now it's like, well, it's probably going to happen for like 300 of you.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think I do, we were talking about the PC earlier, like the Performance Center for WWE. And I do think that that's had a huge help in that because it has opened up that door. Because you're saying it's like there's multiple rings, for people who haven't seen it. Either in person or online, they actually like have social medias and stuff now where they've opened
footage in there,
Yeah, because I know before it was like very hush hush, and no one wanted you to see the inside. But I think these major companies, not just WWE, because we act like they're the only thing that's happening, but for these other companies too, we're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We're opening up the doors, and kind of like showing the world to that wrestling or to that development. And I think that does have a trickle effect into other companies and the success of other companies, because it opens up, several doors.
Like I think, and it's such a delicate line to kind of try to navigate, because I don't like the thing, like we clearly like we're all on the level here, like we know.
Right.
Ooh, a light turned on. Are we okay?
Sorry guys, we had a
technical difficulties here.
But we're gonna continue, so just bear with us. They might come back on. We have no idea what's happening. So
hopefully this is still usable.
Yeah.
I don't even know which light just went off.
It actually was this one, which.
It's making a noise.
If I'm being honest, I'm actually kind of happy it went off, because it's
really
hot.
And really bright.
If anyone's ever been on stage or done any sort of acting or performance,
a little closer.
Yeah, let's just inch our way in, because this is definitely first interview style here of a light shutting off
on the show. See, they just flashed it right up there, the title card.
Right, exactly on the.
And show. We're back on.
Boop 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 show.
So, but for me, like.
The name will come eventually.
It's like a delicate line we kind of have to work with, in that, like, we know that professional wrestling, like, I hate the word fake, but like we know that it's a performance. It's a highly skilled, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think to me, there's nothing positive about like talking about like tricking the marks and fooling the marks, and like that's just gross to me.
It is.
Like that's like
I was a fan once.
Right. Like I don't want to like I'm not like that like just carny dumb like,
mentality.
Yeah, I'm not out here to like trick people like, and to think that that's the motivation what you're doing. Like I mean, I guess that says a lot about like you as a person,
which is gross.
Right. Like I don't. That's not my thing. But at the same time, I think the performances are more enjoyable when you can kind of still like take a step back and like you were saying, like immerse yourself in them.
Yeah.
So like when things get to be a little bit too like wink wink nudge nudge,
yeah,
then it's less fun too. Like
yeah.
People, I think fans like to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, but maybe not too much all the time. Like
yeah,
I like to go
mystery.
to the movies. I like to go to the movies and watch the movie, but I also don't want to like. And I know it's a movie and I want to know more about the actors and I want to know more about production, but like I also want to have the ability to like sit back and just enjoy the movie and enjoy the acting for the acting choices, but maybe not like
for that person.
I don't need to always know how the sausage is made or the vegan sausage is made in my case, but like I think that we're kind of like trying to navigate that. Like even us just having this conversation wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In terms of like outside of like a shoot interview, but like but that has such negative connotations too. Like I think for us to have like a chilled out conversation about wrestling where everyone who's watching it understands that like we are trained to do this performance where
exactly like
there's
they understand that now,
right? Like because especially WWE, I think is one of the people that's like the way that they've opened up the PC and they show their tryouts and things like that.
Yes.
Like and that's
hard. And what's so cool about it too is that it does still leave some of the mystery there,
right?
Of course. But on the same note, it does also kind of, in a way, weed out people who aren't serious about this. Because I know that this is a big stigma that's kind of going around the internet right now. I won't touch on it too much. But kind of the way maybe women or men as well were perceived back then and kind of what got them a push is not necessarily what's happening now. Which is a really good thing because, like you were saying, like before, you'd be like, oh, like these 3 wrestlers are going to be the ones to get a chance over at, blah, blah, blah company or whatever company.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, actually, there's probably going to be like 300
There's
of them.
like every opportunity, like pretty much anything is possible for anyone in wrestling.
Exactly.
It's so transparent now too.
Yes.
Not just for fans, but for wrestlers. Like before, like I would say even before we were wrestling, there was still like this mysterious like, how do you even like do this?
Yes.
And, like,
how
you
do you
gotta
do
know someone and you gotta like be in the right place. And like, of course, there's still an object that's like still part.
Yeah.
But like now we're seeing so many people that just like
they deserve it.
How did so and so get signed? Well, she worked at it and like she like did her best to like develop a style, develop a look. She wrestled everywhere, developed a fan base. Like she got good at wrestling and is rewarded for it, and that I think is really motivational. Whether or not WWE or wherever is your goal, just to see that like it's motivational and it's like validating to be surrounded by people who work hard and like get what they accomplish their goals.
Right. They get like what they dreamt of or what they deserve.
Right. Like whatever their goal is, it's actually possible to accomplish it, and it's very like transparent how you do that.
Which is great. Right. Yeah, because it gives you like that set. It's almost more like touching on like education and schooling and things. I feel like it's more moved toward that style of this is what you need to do to get here, to get this degree, or this job or whatever.
Right.
But speaking on other companies, to kind of move outside of the WWE realm, because I know that sometimes that gets into a bubble. What about like with Impact?
Kind of not.
Oh, we got Texas City happening right now.
I don't know. I'm just like seeing like orbs in front of my face.
Yeah, probably because that light shut off. So now you're actually seeing like real light. So to touch base on like Impact, for instance, this was back in, I made a note here because I have the worst memory. But I didn't even put, what year was it? Maybe 2016, 2015?
Somewhere in there. We did Knock Out SmackDown.
Yes, we did the one night only pay-per-view. So, I mean, how did you feel about like that opportunity? And would you go back to them?
I had a blast. So for me, working with them was kind of the early like, I don't want to call it like TV style wrestling, but I mean TV style in terms of like not what you're doing, but like in front of cameras and like hitting certain marks and stuff, because Ring of Honor was just starting to kind of like
kind of moving into that.
Right, having their wrestling. So like I was mostly wrestling on the independents, where of course you're trying to like put on a good performance, but it's less about like cameras and production and like hair and makeup and everything. And to be part of that was just so cool.
Yeah.
Like it was like I don't want to say like, oh, it was like, a dream come true. It was just like, it was just a really cool experience.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, for someone who hadn't had that at all, like I hadn't had like a tryout, or I hadn't really worked with television.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it was just like a fun.
It was a good pinnacle moment.
Exactly. It was like, it was just neat to be in that environment, like a super professional, like television environment, because, I hadn't done anything like that before.
Yeah.
So that was super rad. I had a blast.
Which is what's cool about this place too, because they fall into that same realm, which is really nice with the like TV production style.
So I have like had a super positive experience with Impact. I would do anything with them anytime. Like what they have going on right now is really rad. I think they have like so many.
Now they've moved like into Canada. They're kind of. I feel like they're coming more into their groove, because they just like every company, you go through these lulls where you kind of like. You lose your way, you lose your groove, whatever it is. And I feel like them relocating and kind of getting out of that, like, we have to be in Florida to be successful mentality that not necessarily they had, but I feel like a lot of people do have that mentality or that stigma of, location, you have to be here to be successful. And I think that them moving and becoming more of a buzz, like they have a better buzz now than, to my knowledge, they've had in years. And they've relocated. And they relocated to, like, another country. Of course it is, Canada, so it is close, but it still is not U.S. soil, but it's still like a U.S. product, and it's getting over, and I think fans are really behind it, which is really
so
cool.
Much. The show that I just watched recently, it was Slammiversary, I believe, was awesome. Like, every match was great. Right. Multiple women's matches. Like, they've always had such a strong the knockouts division. Like, there's such a strong women's division, even at a time where there was like no other. I don't want to say quality women's, but like no other time devoted to women's wrestling on television. Like Impact and TNA before that, like they always really hit that mark. Like they've had amazing women, always.
Which is cool because they're like a quality like and a quantity,
right?
In that sense, because like like with some of the bigger companies and stuff, they would just have like one women's match here or there, and while they might have been high quality or might not have been, whatever it is, like you said, TNA or moving into Impact. They have always had a really good spotlight for the women, and it's ranged is what's really cool. For so long, they've had like an actual division of women. Like there's not just, oh, this girl's really pretty, let's push her, or she looks a certain way, let's push her. Like they have wrestlers going in there, like athletes going in there and competing and having like these really like grade A matches, which is really exciting.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. God bless you.
Right, and they've been. It seems like they've been partnering up more with like independent promotions. So there's even just more people getting exposure. Like it's so cool. Like there's just so many opportunities out there now to kind of dictate your own career and like make it whatever you want it to be. So I think that's awesome.
And on that note, I would say that Impact is probably for wrestlers like you and I probably the more favorable out of the two like main. Yeah. If we're calling these the main companies. Just because you and I both have that same mentality of kind of like, I kind of want to have my eggs in this basket, and this basket, which is really like, to me, exciting. I know it is for you too, because you don't like that monotonous 9 to 5 or exact same schedule or there's like this major overhead. And in their case, they are really good about letting you have creative control, which do you feel like they kind of did that even with that pay-per-view?
Right. Like, I mean, I feel like, we kind of just got to show off, what we do and kind of like, we were given notes and told to like maybe portray like a particular character, but like within that we were able to do whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like I have, I have a family now and I've kind of prioritized them and prioritize that. So for me, like the travel that I do kind of works for that. So that's sort of where I'm at.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. And would you ever consider like diving back into Ring of Honor? Like now that because I feel like they really have expanded their women's division as of late. I know that they're doing a lot too, like touring, overseas and things like that.
They're actually in England right now.
They are for the reunited. Yeah, like literally as we speak, they're in another country
right now.
Yeah, like because they don't just have all these like major shows coming up or anything. They're just like, oh, we're just gonna go to another country for a week. It's fine. Do you have any goals like that to get back to any of those companies?
I mean, I'm kind of willing to go wherever. There's some stuff that I'm actively pursuing and do actively pursue, and a lot of that's on an international scale. Just because I enjoy, like, I'm not saying, oh, I love being out of the country, but like I enjoy wrestling out of the United States just because I was in the States for so long, and that was like my home base. So now for me to be able to go to England for a month or two at a time, or go to Japan for a little while, like I'm really enjoying that. So that's kind of like where my goals are right now. Okay. Like that's where I've sort of focused. Of course, I still wrestle here in the States. I'm going to be in Canada for most of September, but like I still wrestle here. I still want to work as much as I can here, but I've really shifted my focus to sort of expanding out. And so I guess you could say that's what I'm more pursuing, is something that's going to give me like the flexibility to keep doing that.
Okay, that's really cool. And something, so I'm talking about all these like current events that are happening right now, because there is a lot happening in women's wrestling, which is really cool. For the Mae Young Classic, for instance, WWE has their Mae Young Classic. They had the first one, the inaugural last year. This was their second. Do you have any thoughts kind of going into that? Like, I mean, how do you feel? How do you perceive them doing this? And then also, to me, this was a little like interesting timing, is that they had this happen, and now they're calling for the first women's pay-per-view coming up, Evolution, which is in October.
It's in October,
Yeah, and so these are so close together, which I think the finale is at Evolution. I think that was kind of the purpose of them being so close. But I mean, what are your thoughts going into WWE doing this type of movement for the women?
Well, it's super, like, so in terms of like the tournament, like there's so many people in it who like their profile has been raised so much now, and we saw that from last year. I'm sure you saw even a little bit of that just in the past year, just like so much more exposure, because with publicity on the website, or you know, matches that air. So even if it's not a matter of like, oh, so and so gets signed off of this, like it just completely just raises their stock and raises their profile.
Exactly.
And
it's like a win-win for everybody.
Right. It's awesome.
Right.
And then that just sort of, but also in general, I was following results from people who were like at Full Sail or whatever while the tapings were going on, because I want to know all the spoilers, because I want to know how everyone's doing. And I, texting with people who were there and texting with wrestlers who were there, and you start to follow things online, and like maybe people who aren't in the arena but are like kind of like WWE women's wrestling fans, and they're asking questions about these people that they don't know.
Yeah.
And then
which is really
it's
cool.
like, so it's like, okay, but now if they really liked so-and-so, maybe they're going to seek out some of her work, and they're going to see the independent companies that she worked for. Exactly. And like, it's so much, it's like...
Yeah, it's that trickle effect I was talking about
bringing
earlier.
that together is really cool. Yeah. Like, it's just so much exposure for not just the women who are actually in the tournament, but anyone who works with them and anyone who's around them. It
snowballs, because it's like anybody you touch, like, so say Jane over here wrestles, Joe over here. Well, when these people look them up, they're now going to see Joe. And so it is really cool. Like, it does kind of help everybody, even associated with those girls.
Right. And like, cool. I was seeing so many, like, people would say like, oh, I really like so-and-so's look. And they would say something about them that made clear that they didn't really know who they were, but and like I saw other like fans on the internet would just like jump on them and be like, you're not a real fan, and that gatekeeping of wrestling I hate so much. It's like,
so weird.
But they're trying no, they don't, because they watch wrestling on TV, and now maybe they're gonna watch some other wrestling, and that's
give them
good.
The chance to move
that's
in.
Good. Like we don't need to like push them out because they don't know exactly who Io Shirai is right now.
Right.
But they freaking will.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
And I just
and then they'll understand why these people are getting signed.
And then it'll all sort of like snowball from there. But yeah, I was seeing a lot of just like, you're not a real fan because you can't name so and so's first 3 matches. And it's like
you don't know all their finishing moves.
Give them a chance.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. It is funny to kind of see, because I feel like in the world of wrestling there are like, not to say like clubs, but in a sense
people
it
are very protective of like their favorites.
Yes, it's almost like, it's more like gang. It's more like gangy, if anything.
Or like if you're a fan of a band and like they're local, and then they get signed to a label, and then they start doing really well, and you had to be like, I saw them back then.
I saw them first.
And like that's great and that's awesome, but like also be happy that a lot more people are getting, like, if I love a thing, I want everyone to love that thing.
Right, exactly.
If I love a wrestler and maybe he or she is not so well known, I want everyone to know. Like, I'm gonna make you watch matches. I'm gonna be like tweeting about them. Like, I want you to know,
which is good.
Right. So like, I don't, that protective mentality, I get where it's coming from, but like is fine, guys. Just like share your faves.
Yeah, it's a little
share
touchy.
Your faves.
Yeah, it is. It's a little odd stepping into that realm, and I will say, like, I'm like you. I do still have like my favorites who are on my same level. They're on the indies with me, or whatever. Is there anybody right now that you're just like, I really like them, I want to work with them, whether be against them or just on the same show?
Everyone's awesome right now. Like,
everyone's
awesome right now.
It's so good. Everyone's coming to their own, which is really good. I think people feel more comfortable coming into their own now than they ever have before. There's just so many.
Like I said, I got to wrestle Chelsea Green last week, and she's incredible. They're just pretty much anyone who was in the tournament. Like, everyone's awesome right now. Everyone who's on this show that we're on today is great. Right. Like, there's just the level of competition and like the level of athleticism that's out there right now. I think it's just like it's
only getting better.
There's never been anything like it.
No, I would agree with that, especially because both of us have been in long enough to have seen this transition. It's not like we're just jumping in and we're like, oh, everyone's great. This is so
everyone
great.
Is so good, and everyone's like really wants this and is working so well. You have to work hard because it's just like everyone's so good.
Yeah,
right. Like,
you can't be complacent whatsoever.
Of course, I'm not gonna like name names, but if you look back, like 12, 15 years ago or so, like there was such a small pool that like.
You can be a little complacent.
The cream of the crop was awesome, but it was also like, well, the crop was maybe not so great. But now everyone is working so hard, and everyone's like carving out a space for herself.
We're cream corn together.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't even say it. I can't even like come up with a name, because every time I think of a name, I'm like, oh wait, no, but this person. This person. This person.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this earlier because we were talking like a little bit behind scenes before this, and we were saying like, it would be better if we could just get like a scroll of people and just be like, okay.
Pretty much all of everyone.
Yeah,
like,
if you're breathing.
Are you wrestling right now? I would probably really enjoy working with you.
Yeah, exactly, like us tonight. So again, Veda, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on and for being here for all the weird mishaps. Maybe we'll call the show Lights Out or something. Who knows?
Yeah, this is something like after dark right now.
Right? Barbie After Dark. Maybe we shouldn't call it that.
Maybe no.
Maybe nix that one. Go and cut that out for later. But I do want to say thank you. And you guys, you can catch more interviews coming up with me, Barbi Hayden. It will be on Title Match Network. But also, what's really cool is they actually just started an app. Yeah, I know. Very exciting. This just happened last week. It is available on all iOS and Android devices. In fact, you will get a 2-week free trial if you sign up. There you will find thousands, literally thousands of matches, interviews, behind the scenes, more things like this. And we just hit the 50 million view mark.
Every time Title Match on Twitter like tweets out a clip or something, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that promotion was on Title Match. Oh, I didn't know you could watch those shows. Yep. It's like there's a ton of content.
Yeah, it is really great because we touch base with a lot of different companies. We cover, and sometimes it's just that show in particular.
Right.
So sometimes you might be searching through and you're like, I thought that they aired only on...
I didn't know I could see this here.
Right, exactly, yes. So you can catch this show tonight. It's Ladies Night Out 3. You can also catch Ladies Night Out and Ladies Night Out 2, all on Title Match Network. So you guys, we hope to see you there. Thank you for joining us. And, good night.
Good. The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first, to my left, from Providence, Rhode Island, Veda Scott! And her opponent, from College Station, Texas, Barbi Hayden!
Great ovation for both Veda Scott and the hometown girl, Barbi Hayden. What an exhibition this is going to be.
Crowd already firmly behind Barbi Hayden.
The bell rings and this one is underway. Veda Scott and Barbi Hayden. The names coming out tonight here at Ladies Night Out 3.
Well, show respect right there.
I don't know. She said everything's fine. What do you think?
I don't know. You can never tell.
Yeah, exactly. Something that Veda is known for are her kicks. So that's something to definitely be aware of. Hopefully Barbie has done her research and her tape study to know that Veda has well traveled in.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Ooh.
Interesting submission maneuver there.
Veda Scott here early on. I mean, this is the no feeling out process required. She's going right to the submission work on Barbi Hayden, trying to make it a short night of work at Ladies Night Out 3. And a little fun fact about Veda Scott, which is actually incredible, is that she graduated from Drexel School of Law and was actually the editor of Drexel's Law Review.
Wow.
An incredible story is Veda Scott. She even said that Steve Corino was her inspiration to get into wrestling in the first place because he was the king of old school. She left law school to pursue a career in professional wrestling.
Look at that. Drexel University, a prestigious institution. Not too far from where you grew up there, Matt Topolsky.
That's true. I was a little further west where they win championships.
We're showing no love to the city of brotherly love, and Veda Scott showing no love to Barbi Hayden, and now Barbi Hayden trying to counter it.
Oh, Barbi Hayden, this is a pin attempt here, cover. Oh my goodness, and if the official was a little bit closer on that, it might have been a 3. Barbi Hayden showing Veda Scott she is game for the action here tonight. And Ivory Robin, just give us your quick thoughts on, you know, you've had the best seat in the house here tonight for Ladies Night Out 3. What have you thought of what the action we've seen so far? It has been incredible.
It's, like you said, you couldn't have picked a better word. It's been incredible. Every match has proven that, ladies, we can hold our own. We can definitely hold our own. And as far as this match goes right here, look at this. Barbi Hayden is deceptively strong. So I hope that's something that Veda has also done her research about as well.
Veda Scott trying to climb the rope here. A headlock takeover once again, staying on top of Barbi Hayden.
And you know, Ivory, you bring up a good point. Barbi Hayden comes out here. She might be all smiles. She might throw up the I love you sign. She might make hearts.
Cover here with
her hands. But, Matt, you pointed out she is the youngest NWA women's champion of all time. And you don't get that just by being nice to everybody.
No, absolutely not. In addition to that, Barbi Hayden actually is the first woman ever to wrestle a televised match in China against Tessa Blanchard. So this is an accomplished resume in the corner of Barbi Hayden. She is no slouch. She is one of the top female professional wrestlers in the world. Personally, I would put her up against any right now, carrying championships in any promotion. Head scissors here, Hurricane Rana from Veda Scott. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Ivory Robin.
Yes.
This is obviously a you pick 'em, but if you were a betting woman, who would your money be on in this matchup?
Oh, no. I got to say.
An attempt here from
might
Veda
find out
Scott.
right now.
Hold that thought. It may be over. 2 3/4.
I got to say Barbie. She's my pick. I have to go with her because, like you guys said earlier, even though she's happy-go-lucky, she says I love you to everyone. You see, she uses that strength when it is necessary. So I gotta say Barbie.
Veda Scott, of course, no slouch either. Ring of Honor, TNA. The list goes on and on. The name that she is making for herself in women's professional wrestling today, the women's revolution, really in full swing, and you're seeing it here tonight at Ladies Night Out 3, courtesy of Title Match Network.
There go those kicks.
Oh! Veda Scott perched up on that second rope. And I think both of them trading shots there, but Barbi Hayden staying on top. Kick out at 2 from Veda.
And look at the face of Barbi Hayden. He's showing a little bit of frustration there, kind of uncharacteristic of Barbi Hayden, who's normally in control and confident.
Yeah, Barbie's moniker is always winning. That's her thing, but it doesn't mean an arrogant type of always winning. She more so says that because she tries to turn negative things into positive things. So that's what she always loves to say, always winning.
Started this matchup off trying to get a quick submission from Barbi Hayden. Looked like it was a bit of a flawed strategy, and now it's Barbi Hayden who's actually going to work on Veda Scott's legs here.
Yeah, maybe more specifically the ankles there. And like Golden State point guard Steph Curry would say, you know, if your ankles go out, you don't have a shot winning. No shot at all.
Oh! Barbi Hayden, oh, look at this, impressive with a bridge. That is a pin attempt.
Whoa, man, very close to a 3 count there as Barbi Hayden once again slaps the mat in frustration.
That is some impressive strength on display from Barbi Hayden. And it's very interesting.
Off the second rope.
Taking apart Veda Scott, all while doing it, she has a smile on her face, and I know you can appreciate that, Ivory. Hold on,
Yeah, I do.
over here. Kick out.
That's all she was doing, though, was turning her negative into a positive.
Cover here again, another pin attempt and a kick out.
Here we go, now she's almost choking her. Oh! Barbi Hayden almost stalking her prey right there, Matt Topolsky, just waiting for her to get up.
I mean,
she
she has been in control doing this for several minutes now. Oh, inside cradle, cover here. Veda Scott trying to steal one.
Obviously not inflicting enough damage. Barbi Hayden on the ankles.
Well, Veda Scott using her body like a weapon there into a pin attempt here, lateral press.
Whoa.
Barbi Hayden barely getting that shoulder up here. You're just joining us here live on Title Match Network. Thanks for having the best seat in the house. Oh!
Oof.
Veda Scott. Oh! That leaping clothesline for the second rope into a stunner of her own.
Almost a diamond cutter, but Barbi Hayden getting right back on her feet, Matt Topolsky. That could be all right there.
Kick to the temple, kick to the temple. This could be it. Barbi Hayden kicking out with a hair to go.
Well, these two women giving them everything they got. And wait, hold on now. Veda Scott going to the outside on that apron, man.
Oh, look at this. Barbi Hayden trying to bring her back into the ring. Oh, that's a top rope DDT. She spiked her. She got all of it. Cover. 1, 2. Barbi Hayden gets the win.